we should charge less, if not waive the fees for local nonprofits that are serving our community and want to use the park. One example that was brought to us this month was the Garden Club doing their bum sale, which is not a big impact by any means. And if you take the sort of strictest reading of the rules and policies, they have to meet some pretty high bars related to the insurance that they carry, as well as paying a fee. So as we work on these, and we want to provide to you all the rules, policies, and the rental agreement very soon, hopefully after our next meeting, but maybe it might take us another meeting. But in the interim, we propose to the court that the insurance requirements and the fees be waived for local nonprofits that only want to use the park with less than 50 people until such time we can get a true policy in front of you all that you can approve and put that into place. So for instance, if one of these groups like the Garden Club wanted to use it in the next couple of months, our proposal is that they are not required to meet those high bars of having the $1 million insurance capacity and paying the fees. So that was one of our proposals we wanted to put in front of you all.
Who would carry the liability if there were an injury?
I believe the thought was that the county would cover that.
I do too.
I'd like to make two
comments.
comments.
Have we looked into 1 or 2 day policies? Because they're available out there, and is that what's been done in the past, Mary?
You know, we've been running parks now for years, Millennium Park, and you know, we carry liability on parks just in case something happens, whether there's a group there or not. So I don't.
Can we check and make sure, or do you know that Constitution Square is listed?
It is listed. Oh, absolutely. And every building that's on Constitution Square is listed.
Well, we got covered as like a blanket policy, I assume.
Good.
Yeah, well, I have them individually listed on the property schedule.
Good.
So I like the proposed approach, and until they come back with us with a more permanent solution. But I think this addresses a lot of concerns that you have raised, and rightfully so, because we don't need to, if a small group wants to utilize the park, that's what it's there for. We need to utilize it. We need people in there. Mm-hmm. And so I support this proposal that the committee is bringing to us at this point.
Well, I agree with you. I don't see why why we'd even charge them. So I'd like to make a comment about the flyers. I don't believe I've ever seen the flyers any prettier than they are this year. They're just gorgeous. But the only other negative I have is the fact that I don't like that big sign. Everybody knows that the farmers markets are on Saturday. We don't have to have that large sign under the Constitution sign. I just think it takes away from the beautiful sign of Constitution Park. And that sign is too large. I just don't like it.
The intent of that sign, that space underneath, was so that a much smaller sign could fit there depending on the event.
Yes.
So it sounds like, and I can work with the farmers market on this. I mean, it's just another expense for them.
Farmers market, no, everybody knows farmers market's going to be there on Saturday from 9 to 1. So why have a large sign like that?
Well, I'm going to ask them that they bring in a smaller sign. They make a smaller sign. Because when we get visitors, like this weekend, we had Center move in.
Right.
And so if they go by the park, they don't know what's happening there. It's a nice little say, oh, farmers market or whatever.
There's supposed to be a small sign that goes through
instead of being this big, it's supposed to be about this big.
In between the posts.
It's larger than the Constitution Square.
Yeah, it is.
That was the one they had there before. So I'll talk with I'll talk with Jeff Jewell and see what we can do about getting a smaller one that's supposed to be there. And I think that the Ben's group can make sure that anyone else that's going to have an event there that wants to have a sign, they know the specifications.
Why not have the sign there and put it up on the day of the event instead of having it hanging there all week?
Well, it's like any advertising. You want people to plan and to know that it's
coming. We're not going to plan. Monday I'm going down and get me a cucumber on Saturday. My God.
better get more than a few of them.
Moving right along. Ben, what do you got? Is this something we should entertain as a motion to approve the recommended, short-term, rental agreement, as it refers to
I'll make that motion, as you stated.
okay.
I'll second.
Motion made to approve the nonprofit short-term agreement for Constitution Square, made by Magistrate Ellis and seconded by Magistrate Sammons. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Judge, I think I probably should abstain because of my relationship with the president, so.
Understood. With one abstention in the vote. All right, then the next one.
We have one other proposal for you all to consider at this time, and that is security cameras for the park. This was something that was brought up pretty early on in our committee meetings. One bid, I think, or an estimate that we received was something around $850 to add 10 or 11 or 12 very small cameras around the park for security. And so that's a suggestion that we put in front of you.
What's the amount, what's the cost?
What was reported was $850 for the prices on these things have come way down.
$850 for all of them?
That's what we were
I
told.
think that's an exceptional idea, and the question would be, who would monitor it and how would it be reported in incidents?
That's a good question. I think the idea would be it's kind of a closed circuit security camera that would be checked if there was a problem. So hopefully it wouldn't be somebody needing to monitor it, in real time.
I understand that, but if there's an incident, for example, we talked before this committee was structured that there are those in the community who might loan things that would enhance each of the buildings with really extraordinary early antiques of Pioneer era and coming forward a little bit. But they could be lifted and gone before somebody went back to check it.
Well,
So I believe that probably the sheriff will probably have access to the cameras, but we can figure all that out.
Well,
I think it's a great idea.
I would recommend, if we have the money, and I think we do, budgetarily, that we consider up to $1,000 for security cameras at the park.
I'll make that motion, Judge.
I'll second it. Mary, can that come out of?
So, I'm kind of blindsided by all this. So, I'm not sure what you have in your new equipment line item that you have earmarked. Do you all know? I'm sorry, I wasn't.
Well,
Or do you just take it out of reserve?
My question was going to be, the endowment fund that we have for the park, are we able to use money from that?
Well, that'll come available to you in December, and you can make a decision on how you want to use that money in December. That's when you're going to draw. And in your packet, you have your endowment financial statement that talks about how much is in principal and how much is available to draw on. But you could, if you wanted to, pay for it in advance and then reimburse it with that. But it's still, I don't know what's in your budget line item. Always remember, magistrates, that your budget line item, when you all set the budget, included certain things, and I don't remember exactly what you included in the Constitution Square line item. So you would want to suggest at the time of expenditure, if it's going to go over that earmark amount, that you need to transfer money from reserve to keep the treasurer legal and safe in doing their job moving forward. Because if you go over budget and that's not covered and you all don't approve it, it comes out of the treasurer's personal bank account.
Mary, is that something we'd handle ordering and administratively, or would the committee do that? And in either case, I would assume it would have to be bid.
Yeah, it would have to.
Well, they're not a authorized purchaser from county funds. So you would identify an individual to purchase that on behalf of the committee.
So we'd go through Bill?
Or Dwayne, or the two of them together. Dwayne usually kind of takes care of the park area, but.
Why don't we consider taking this approach that, on a vote, that we entertain a more in-depth evaluation of the cost of the cameras and where exactly it will
Yeah,
come from.
thank
And if
you.
it meets the budget
Thank you.
availability, then we will go up to $1,000 to facilitate enhanced security cameras at the park.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Patrick Short, is there a second?
Second.
What was this, is he making an amendment to the motion, or are we just?
No, 'cause
the
you've
motion
got-
down?
you've got-
The first motion was not really seconded to my recollection.
Actually, I seconded it.
It
You
was.
did?
he
It was seconded?
Yes, yes.
Okay, then that will be an amendment to the
that
initial
motion.
motion,
Okay,
okay? To be
Right.
perfectly clear, that will be an amendment, and it was seconded by Patrick Gay, made by Magistrate Short, as an amendment to Magistrate Salmon's motion, seconded by Magistrate Cullen.
Ben, are you aware of what your budget is for? Okay, so let's make sure we get that
Yeah, we need to communicate that.
to you as well, so you guys have an understanding of what's out there.
okay. I'll call for the question on that motion.
Sounds great.
I still have discussion, please, sir.
Okay,
Question is, do we know what we want the cameras to be able to do?
We want to be able to determine if there is an incursion of people that are not supposed to be doing things in the park at night in our absence.
So-
If there's any attempt to vandalism of the facility.
So they will be of the quality sufficient enough to give us good night vision, and
Absolutely.
so I just want to be sure we know
Absolutely.
what quality of cameras we're
we
going to
don't,
be
we don't want
looking for.
anybody picking roses off our flag cards,
Well, I understand that, or anything else over there.
that's right.
Okay.
High def, light
Okay.
capability, okay? So,
I
is
assume,
everybody clear on
I
where we
assume-
are with the motion and the amendment?
Yes.
I assume Bill will be involved in some of this?
Absolutely should
Okay.
be. Yes, he should.
Call for question.
All those in favor of the motion and with the amendment, is that understood?
Yep.
That signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. All right, last thing.
The governor's circle, the state parks contacted the county, contacted us about adding a plaque for Governor Bevin. So we're in touch with state parks. Our understanding is the state pays for everything,
Right.
and there will be some kind of a little ceremony, hopefully attended by former Governor Bevin, where we install that plaque in the governor's circle. But it's not something that we feel like we have any approval or anything like that on. It's an informational item to you all that we've been contacted and it's moving forward.
And I think I really love the governor's circle and I'm thankful that it's there, and that's great that Governor Bevin is being
Will
added
you
to the
keep us
circle.
informed of a date that is agreed upon for that event so we can plan appropriately?
Yes, sir.
Once the state has the plaque present in your hands or whatever, our hands?
Yes, sir.
Well, best I remember, we have done this in the past, haven't we?
For every governor, yes, that's
Yes,
that's left office.
Yeah.
This is not a unique situation.
No, it's awesome. That's an important ceremony, and
Yes.
it's an important,
We usually do it on the birthday, on the Commonwealth's birthday,
Yes,
and this year we couldn't do that.
yeah.
Right. And Phil, I have to echo your statement. Those flowers do look beautiful, and I think it was a great collaborative effort with the gardening club,
Yes.
with the students, and with everybody.
Yeah, they're
that
beautiful,
put
really
that
nice.
together. So,
The only other question I have is, Ben, if you don't mind, sir.
Yes.
Early on, we had discussed the change in the name of the conference center, and we wanted a historical name of some person that was instrumental in the Constitution. Has that been discussed any?
Yes, sir. We are discussing, we brought it up we discussed it in some detail at the last meeting. There were a couple of different trains of thought on it, and
Have you had some good names come up?
yes, we've looked at two sort of different tracks, one being something that's more, it's not like a proper name, for instance, the Delegates Hall for the delegates that came to the Constitution. Another idea, but, Carolyn Crabtree knows the history going back really far. She reminded us that property that the conference room is on was owned by Craddock, Robert Craddock,
Right.
who was a big player, but there's really nothing named
Right.
after him. So she suggested
There's a spring named after him, wasn't there? A spring here in Danville named after him?
maybe so. Maybe she meant no
Yes.
buildings or anything.
Right.
But, so
They're working on it, and I think they're making some progress on that, and please, anybody feel free to go and sit in on these meetings, and I'd like for the committee to make sure that Ann has a meeting schedule whenever
Okay.
you're meeting, and
Yeah.
location,
Yeah, and then,
time, and that way everybody can go and stay in touch with this.
yeah, well, he's doing a good job informing us coming back
Absolutely.
forward, yeah,
Thank you for
I
the.
just know we got a lot on our agenda today, I wanna keep things moving.
yes.
When Dr. Tom Clark, on his 100th birthday, commented that had it not been for Judge Samuel McDowell, we could easily be Europe West. I personally can't think of a better name to go on that building than Judge Samuel McDowell. He not only opened up the West for the United States, but he conducted, arguably in history, because the books that I have got 7 or 8, and there's some difference, but arguably he conducted 9 of the 10 conventions, and we would not have had Kentucky in our Constitution without his input. Thomas Jefferson got
Move right
involved,
along.
and George
All right.
Washington
Move
got
right
involved.
along.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dallas. Is anything else, Ben?
No, sir.
Thank you so much for coming before us
Thank you,
today, we
Ben.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
so
Ben,
much.
thank you so much.
No, we got Chris Herron next up on our agenda, we got him right here.
Moving right along, Chris.
Okay, Chris. You want me to read this, ordinance?
I mean, I can-
Chris Jones is outside.
Don't
now.
you just have to read
Okay,
that?
Chris, you're here, okay, good.
Ready? Yep.
Okay, we're gonna, are you gonna read it, or you want me to
I
read it?
can.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you just read the headlines, cause it's.
All right, yeah, I've got
Yeah, we've
the
had
summary.
twice.
Okay, right ahead.
This is ordinance 490.0, and the purpose of this ordinance is to establish an energy project assessment district, EPAD, program pursuant to KRS 64.205 to 65.209 to advance the conservation and efficient use of energy and water resources within Boyle County, Kentucky, by allowing energy projects to be financed by assessments imposed upon the real property being improved through energy projects in the private sector. Said ordinance establishes the boundaries and lays out all guidelines and procedures for which owners of real property may petition the county for participation in the program, designates the Boyle County Sheriff as the collector of the assessment, and authorizes an interlocal agreement for implementation and administration of the program. Be it ordained by the Boyle Fiscal Court, Commonwealth of Kentucky, this ordinance is adopted pursuant to KRS 67, and that it was introduced on August 11, 2020, and was given final reading on August 25, 2020. And said ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon signature, recordation, and publication and summary pursuant to KRS 424 and KRS 67.
Did we discuss this with all the different players,
We have, and that meeting took place, and it was very good. Chris was there for that meeting, he stayed extra that day, and so he's here again to make sure that if there's any questions as it relates to program administration agreement, which we'll take up after this ordinance.
I move we approve ordinance number 490.0.
Second.
All right, motion to approve, ordinance 490.0 made by Magistrate Gay and seconded by Magistrate Caywood, be approved as read. Second reading. Discussion. All those in favor of approving the ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're at the point where we discuss the EPAD program administration agreement. And, Mary, you have some observations or comments you might like to make about this as far as, reason Chris is here and so on.
Well, we did meet about the program administration agreement after our last fiscal court meeting, and there were a couple of changes that were made by Mr. Jones to this agreement, which first and foremost spoke about the record retention and who was going to keep those records, and for open records requests and for ease of accessibility, we agreed that even though the agreement says the permanent record is on place, we have copies of everything in our office, just in case the firm ends up, dissolving in the future, your fiscal court is required to have this as a long-term, permanent record in its, in the basement, for a lack of a better term, for access. So that's been changed in this, as well as we added a liability insurance section that I felt it was really important, since they're going to be working on behalf of the fiscal court, that they, they had a section on severability, but they didn't have a section on liability insurance. And so they added that, and we appreciate that. But everything else in this agreement, we thought was a good, solid agreement. And the only other thing that we have not brought before you, which I think Magistrate Gay was talking about, was the interlocal agreement between all the agencies. And we're going to kind of fine-tune that a little bit more. Chris and I have had conversations about
It's
that.
not an
so-
immediate need,
Yeah.
requirement.
Yeah, because we're not going to be doing that in December or November for that matter. It'll be next year before we actually start collecting, so.
So we won't be moving on that with signatures?
No, we
Not-
will not be
no.
moving, just the participation
Just
agreement.
the administrative participation agreement.
So that's, then it's titled the Program Administration.
Correct.
Agreement?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I move we approve that agreement as presented.
Motion made by Magistrate Gay and seconded by Magistrate Ellis to approve the EPAD Program Administration Agreement.
It was short.
Do what?
Second was short.
Was it short? Okay, I'm sorry. That gone, there again, I gotta have my non-hearing aids tuned a little bit from that direction.
They're sharing the same microphone, so that's Jeff.
Yeah, my fault. By Magistrate Short, seconded by Magistrate Short. Discussion.
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
Are we moving along at the rate of speed that we need to help Mayor?
Yes,
To help them
Yes,
cope
I know
with it.
Megan, yeah, was.
Megan, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I know they were anxious about,
Right,
today
right.
kind of
So
happening,
we're-
so they can kind of.
We're not holding them up
Mm-mm,
from
no,
moving
no,
forward
this was
with
the-
Megan? Okay.
Yeah, based on the summary, I'd sent a couple weeks ago there, that was provided to Megan, you were right on track with
The
regards to
interlocal agreement
what
will
you're
not
doing.
slow up that process.
No, not at all.
Okay, just want to be sure we're doing the speed that we need to do.
Yep. no.
All right, all those in favor of approval of the motion on the before us, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and the motion carries. Thank you for that. Chris, I don't, anything else?
Now, I want to thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming down.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
was,
no.
this, I know it may seem like a long way to go for what we just went through,
It's
but it
not.
helps put everybody else's mind at ease.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
On the page regarding the interlocal agreement.
Which we're not talking about, but go ahead.
Okay, well, if you're letting them go.
Go ahead, Chris.
No,
No,
no.
go
Is
go
that-
ahead and ask it, yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Did you, I have a blank spot there regarding fees. Was it discussed at this meeting that y'all had with the sheriff, what the top fees
We're
gonna be?
still working on that. That's why we're not ready to sign it.
Okay, well, that's good.
We're in consultation.
Well, I saw it on here, so I
Is
just.
that not correct?
That is correct.
We're in
Okay.
consultation. I am with the sheriff, and he's unavailable right now to conclude that discussion.
Good deal.
Move
And
right
the
on.
only
Good
other
seeing you,
thing-
Chris,
What's that?
have a good day.
Okay, all right, yeah, very good. Yeah, no, that's it. Well, I'm with you.
And thanks for your answers to our questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Been a
yeah,
pleasure, Chris.
Good meeting
Thank you.
everybody, but we'll stay in touch because we need
Yeah,
to
please
kind
do.
of resolve that one up,
Thank you,
so,
sir.
yeah, all right. Thank you, guys. Have a good
Thank
night.
you, Chris.
Moving right along.
All right.
Goggin. Alan.
Alan Goggins next.
All right, Alan, get in here.
There he is. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Good morning, Alan.
Good morning. Come in. Spread your room out in here. Tables and everything.
Proud.
All right, we're gonna throw it to you. And
Okay.
We're just talking about why you're here to present the Conservation District tax.
Conservation District tax staying the same as last year, 1 cent per 100.
1 cent per 100. Anybody got any questions or comments or anything about that?
Do we need to have? a-
Real quick, yes, so whenever, we get your assessment certification from the Commonwealth, and so when we get lower in our agenda, there are to approve the tax rates, and so we'll be approving your tax rate, which will go on the bill at the same amount. So, we'll be doing that all at one time.
Great.
And I think they're all in, I hope they're all in here, those different tax rates.
Oh, they're supposed to be reporting them just as,
Okay.
because they didn't report those to us except for the library. I think we got a little
Okay.
form from them.
So, one cent per
100.
100.
100, okay.
Same as it's been, Ben.
Yeah.
Same as it has been, no change.
No change.
Perfect.
Anybody got any questions, comments?
Not a one.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
I would like to take a moment, report on dead animal removal.
Okay.
It is going well. Our numbers are actually down from where it was when we was in company in Winchester. I don't know when they're gonna pick back up, but there's more out there to be picked up. We still gotta work on this problem. We really need a compost pile in the county somewhere. Cause we can go any day and Tri-K over there may say they need more money.
We need to,
We need to stay on top of that.
yeah,
What are we paying per animal?
Per animal,
it's hard to say, really.
it's hard to say because there's different, they may be all little ones one day and then a big one the next day. It's by the weight,
They don't charge the same amount, it's the flat rate.
flat rate per ton.
A ton.
Yeah.
Per ton, okay.
That's where we're at on that.
We need to keep it out there.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you all.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.
All right.
Thank you, Alan.
Dr. Ragland.
Good
Morning, Doctor.
Dr. Ragland, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, good.
Your, before you get started, I just wanna say your son is one sharp youngster. He
Thank you very much.
Worked out at, Burton, and I've seen him pretty often, and I know you're proud of him.
Awfully, awfully proud of him. I have a picture in my mind of him standing right by that flag when he came in here one day and
Yeah.
Yes.
led
He
he was
will.
little then.
He will,
He's
yes.
ginormous now. He got over that. Yeah, we're pretty proud of him.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, present your,
Tax rate.
tax rate. Yes, ma'am.
The Boyle County Extension District Board voted to take the compensating rate, which for us, for real property is 6.543. For personal property is 15.3893, and for motor vehicles, stay standard at 1.3.
One more time.
Real property, 6.543. Personal property, 15.3893, and motor vehicle at 1.3.
All right.
Okay, anybody got any comments or questions? Thank you.
We would invite you to come out and see the new building, but it's not quite done yet. When COVID's over, we'll have a big party and we'll.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we are
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I beat Alan. The fire department is not here.
All right.
Yep. The Georgia.
You try to get Jayla on the phone and see, where she might be, or get somebody to maybe call out there to Chief Sexton and see, but, is Georgia out there? I
Yes.
think I saw her earlier.
Yeah, there's Georgia. There's Georgia. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you all?
All right, how are you doing?
Doing very well.
Good.
I just need to report my tax rates to you all. They are the compensating rates for the library, 7.9 cents for real property, 9.93 cents for personal, and 3.5 cents for motor vehicle. And you should have a little bit of information about the library there. If I can answer any questions, I will.
Do we have any change? The only question I have, no, there's no change, that's the same as it was a year ago, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
It's
that.
the same as it had been, is that correct?
Well, it is the compensating rate. The real property rate is the same as last year. The personal rate is slightly lower than last year.
Good, thank you.
And we have a copy of that, did Ann get a copy of that?
Yep.
Right there?
Yes,
It's in our
It's in our
packet.
packet. Okay, right here, I'm looking at it.
there you go. That's right.
Okay. Anybody got any questions of Georgia while she's here?
Not at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next, Miss Kirshner. There she is.
Good
Hello.
morning.
Good
How you
morning.
doing?
Good morning.
It's been so long since I've been in here. This is all different. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my bearings. I believe I'm here for my annual
Yes, ma'am.
acknowledging of the 3% transient room tax.
Staying the same.
Yeah.
That's all we need to know.
How's the hotel tax going?
You know, it's steady. It's steady. We're operating at about a 50% occupancy. 50 to 55 is what the hoteliers tell me, and we normally would be in the low 80s. Even more now that center's moving back. So we're there, but it's not like it used to be, hopefully.
Is there any real, I'm worried about real problems about if this thing continues, about people going under? Do we have any problem like that with any hotel?
What do you mean going under? Oh, none of the hoteliers I've talked to are concerned about that at all. I mean, they're not,
They'll be
whistling
steady
with
and
smiles,
they
but.
can hold up, even if it drops to say 30 probably. Or
Yeah, and it was that in April. They're very concerned about the loss of events in the fall because that's our weekend traffic. But weddings are picking up again, and the business travel is still there, which is the bread and butter. There's also, when you see things under construction, a lot of times those folks are staying in our hotels too. So there's business to be had. It's just not what it was or what it could be.
Yeah, without the center athletics.
Without center athletics and.
We just had this yard sale. Seems like
Yes.
we didn't have that many people coming.
From the reports I've heard, the people, and this is anecdotal just from hoteliers I've talked to, there were buyers, but there were not nearly as many vendors,
Right.
which, makes sense. How can you plan?
Yeah.
So.
A lot over there.
So, but it was still, our hotel still had a very good weekend. All that to say, it was still a good weekend.
There was a lot less buyers.
Yeah, it was very different.
But everybody's on well.
Yeah,
People they sold all kinds of stuff.
yeah. I think it still was a good weekend considering.
I was worried about that because I didn't think it was that many coming through down there.
Yeah. So probably not probably one of its best years, but definitely was good.
You want to talk about your balance sheet, your July financials?
If y'all have any questions, on your room tax sheet by month, there is still tax that's not reported on there back to January, but I have gotten that and deposited it, so we're mostly caught up through May. And from my estimate at this point, April and May will obviously be low. But March through, we're actually above or close to what we were last year. So, and we're just into the beginning of the budget. We're in the middle, or I'm in the middle of doing, as you can maybe see from my report, there's a lot of data mining I'm doing to develop our marketing plan. It'll obviously be a bit of a different sentiment this year than it's been. We're not, waving banners saying come travel here. So what we're focusing on is quality of life and economic development messaging, and we're also focused on supporting local businesses because we want there to be a destination when the pandemic eventually ends. So I'm doing a lot of work with Google Analytics to understand where our most effective places to market are. So we'll get into spending some advertising dollars here soon, but as of now, it's not really that interesting of a balance sheet, but I'm happy to answer questions if
I noticed
you have any.
Jennifer,
Yes.
in your minutes, that your chair is indicating that the visitor center will remain, but no action is taken in that.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up. I know there's been a lot of confusion around that, and the visitor center is in Goldsmith House. We have a partnership with McDowell House. We've continued that. We actually just hired a wonderful woman. She started on Monday. Her name is Brianna Tucker. She'll work from 10 to 4 Monday through Friday, and then we partner with the farmers market on Saturday to help with the park. So she's great, and she helps McDowell, and she helps us fulfill leads, but she's in there officially now.
Is she going through an orientation?
Yep.
To get a full good?
Yep. We even have some history cheat sheets to give her. So she'll be doing, what I want to happen, McDowell is working on inventory and items that are for sale. That's kind of more their bailiwick. What we're going to be focusing on is social media. I really need that to have a good social media presence that focuses on the park as well as items in the gift shop. So, yeah, thank you for asking.
And as far as staff goes, is it just you right now?
Yes. No, the board decided that we'll reevaluate in the spring. Because that's when, without events, it's different. There's not all those meetings and there's not all that planning. And so I'm able to handle what we have going on. But I miss Jamie tremendously.
And then I saw in the meeting minutes, this might just be a personal thing, but, I know you're working on stuff about food trucks. You also
Yes.
said about, making sure local businesses,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah, I know that's a fine balance. It seems like considering the pandemic and the popularity of food trucks, we have to have a conversation about it. Having no regulation about it seems to be more problematic, and I think it's brought up some real issues. So in my opinion, I think having some structure would be better. But again, going through the city, we can only regulate or public property. If a business wants to let a food truck in their parking lot, it is what it is.
Well,
So.
I've been on both sides of the
Mm-hmm.
food truck and then
Mm-hmm.
restaurant, so.
It's a tricky one.
I'm happy to be part of that conversation.
Yeah,
That
Jeff
was-
said that maybe, Jeff let us know that the restaurants, maybe downtown, were getting together to kind of be involved in some of that discussion. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
I helped Lexington with some of their ordinances.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Speaking of food trucks, and it
Mhm.
would be for Jennifer, but for us, when we see them parked around the county, are they all getting their health permits and their permits for operations and taxes and everything?
If it's within the city limits, code enforcements for the city of Danville works with the health department and manages that. I don't know if they were in the county, how that works. I don't know about the county.
Most of them are within the city limits.
I think so.
Most of them are within the city limits of Danville, with the
Steve Hunter's
exception
work-
maybe
Steve
the.
Hunter's working.
Yeah,
on
he's
some
in the
stuff.
group with the food truck ordinance,
Good,
so.
good.
And so is the health department.
Great.
So I offer my.
Great,
my
thank
time
you.
if need.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Is there anything else for Ms. Kirsten? All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see you, appreciate you coming in.
Good to be back, kind of.
Yeah.
All right, next we have the county clerk's presentation, which I doubt that, you out there, you have the packet of the audit before you, as well as the sheriff. I know for a fact that he is not here today. You've had the chance to review those audits, which are both good audits. Is there any, you just acknowledge the receipt of the audit?
Yeah, they're just presenting,
Just
actually,
presenting.
this is just being circulated to you by the treasurer, actually, because it's
Yeah.
important that it's in the minutes that you looked at them and they were presented to the fiscal court and you're aware of. And just to clarify, this is not a full audit, it's what they call an agreed upon procedure. So it's somewhat an abbreviated audit, I should say, but if in fact they have the auditors have any concerns about anything they find in the agreed upon procedures, which an agreed upon procedure is much less costly to the taxpayers and to the county, but unless they find something, then the following year they'll have a full-blown audit. So thank you for looking at those.
So in my language, it would be, they look at every nth item?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So acknowledge the receipt of both a good audit.
Moving right along.
Acknowledge, great.
Acknowledge. Next, Miss Angie Muncy.
Oh, yeah, Sheriff, we're doing the same thing, we're
Yeah,
acknowledging both.
exactly,
Thank
exactly.
you.
Angie?
Oh, here's Jayla.
Get her.
Oh, okay. Jayla, come on in.
I apologize, I didn't know I scheduled today. We're being audited.
Oh.
Yeah, she just made it to my office before I got here.
All right, Boyle County Fire Department,
Yes.
rate.
They opted for the same rate as last year, 10 cents per every 100.
No change.
No change.
Okay, do you have a copy? We have a copy of that?
I'm going to go get you a copy now.
Okay, all right. Make sure Miss Ann has a copy of that.
Will
Any
do.
questions of Jayla? No change in their rate.
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I apologize, and I will bring you back a copy.
You work like 3 jobs, so you're okay. Thank you so much for all you do.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
See you.
Mhm. Okay, now Miss Angie.
Morning.
Good morning.
How is everybody?
Okay, how are you?
I'm good.
Can you see?
No, and I'm burning up too.
You can-
I like it better online. I've got some goodies to pass out to them.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
Solid waste coordinator.
It's not on the schedule, but she's got a big event this weekend.
Yeah.
Heard it on the radio several times today.
I'm going on the radio tomorrow, so.
Which, WHR or the, Harrisburg station that everybody listens to? 3 years ago.
RNZ?
Yeah. When's our next meeting?
No.
Moving right along.
Moving right
No.
along.
Lexington Clinic.
You need an assistant to pass off yourself.
No, no.
So if I'd got down here early enough, I should have had this done, but.
So she was the specialist.
So that's cleared up.
Thank you, thank you.
How are you, ma'am?
Lucky. And she must have been very good.
She's a business.
You can take the
That's
judges.
what I call that. She did my cataract stuff too.
I'm short one of them, I owe you one of them.
Ma'am?
Master Ellis.
Thank
That's all
you,
right,
thank
though.
you.
You'll get one to see.
All right.
Ray, I owe you one of them little
What
stickers
does
too.
Kentucky would say?
Oh, oh, thank you.
She's still not giving you one, Ann.
Oh.
I'll get one from her when I go.
Oh, well, that's all
Yeah.
right.
Make Monday.
All right.
I'll give you my colored copy here in a minute. You'll give me the
Request to
special.
approve purchased equipment provided in grant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's nice.
All right, attached you'll find, when I had you approve the recycling grant, I thought with the equipment and who had it, that was all included. But I guess it's not, so I give you a copy of the invoice. We already have the skid steer. And I give you also a copy of the master agreement it's on the state price contract, and you'll see on the second page, I've got it marked there where the skid steer is part of the state price contract. And basically, I just need approval.
You won't be purchasing some of this equipment until we get further fine tuned on the
The skid steer and the forklift, the only two things that's ordered, that's the
Yeah.
recycling grant, that's not the composting grant.
Right, okay,
Make a
okay,
motion.
that's a recycling grant,
Mhm,
okay.
right.
Ronnie and me.
Make a motion to
First, me
approve
second.
it.
Okay,
I
well,
I need to just be clear about what we're.
Ronnie Short made a motion to approve
Sorry, I second.
the, who second?
Second.
I think he,
Okay,
I
that's
think
fine.
Magistrate
That's
Cullen
fine.
seconded, and, now we can discuss the issue.
So,
The
so
proposal.
do I, just because the auditors are gonna look at this, what exactly are we, because the cost is over $30,000, so, you know, the state law says that we have to bid it unless we take state price contract, so that's what we're approving first, and then what about the forklift, what are we doing with the forklift?
The forklift ordered, it hasn't got here yet.
So how much was that?
It's right under 30. It's state price contract also.
Okay, so, okay, because, you know, your administrative code says anything over $3,000 has to come before fiscal court for approval before purchasing. So, you all are then authorizing that as well with state price contract.
Does everybody
Is
understand?
that what's in the minutes?
Is that what's in the minutes?
Well, I need to.
You said 3,000?
Anything over $3,000 in your administrative code
Oh,
has to come before the fiscal court
You've
with,
got a mask, I couldn't hear. That's
with
why I was
quotes,
Because
with
we also
quotes.
talked 30,000 a second ago as well.
well,
so.
that's why I want to get this all clear, because there's one piece of equipment that was purchased, but we've got it on state price contract, and that's what's,
Right.
and that's over $30,000, so, but the next thing is the forklift, which is just under $30,000 that she's buying with state price contract, with your approval, because anything over $3,000 has got, whether it's part of a grant or whether it's anything, if it's federal money, state money, all of those grants require us to follow our administrative code to purchase. So anything over $3,000 has got to come before the fiscal court for approval, because you have to have quotes. unless you approve the state price contract, which in the past always been the lowest, so we haven't always taken state price contract. And we've demonstrated that with a John Deere tractor. So those are things that I need in the minutes, so when we're audited, they're gonna pick these two big pieces of equipment first and foremost because they're big numbers. And they're gonna look at those to see how we complied with our administrative code. Just trying to keep you legal, gentlemen and ladies.
All right, the motion was to accept this.
To accept the state price contract price on both pieces of equipment, the skid steer and the forklift.
I call for the question.
Is that
That
not
was
a
my
true restatement?
That was my understanding, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to clarify.
Thank you.
Discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and the motion carries.
Okay, the next thing here I have, I'm sorry, I gotta put this down, I'm 6 foot away from you.
It's all right.
Municipal equipment. My belt is about all the way through on my baler. It's ripped. We're still, it hasn't totally went apart yet, but it's getting ready to. We've got some stuff holding it, but it needs to be replaced. And
Well,
if we don't have a belt, then we're not using a baler.
Well, that's something we gotta have.
And it's been about 3.5, 4 years, so
I'll make a
it's
motion. to approve.
wear and tear.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Well,
Sign the bill.
we do that because I have a little bit of an issue, Mary. I can't find enough money for that. I don't know where to put that at because for repairs, there's not enough there, the best I can tell.
Again, I don't have my budget with me. I mean,
Or you can get back with me later and we can decide what to do, but I
How much do
mean,
you think a belt to replace?
I've got, it's in your packet there. I put a copy of the,
$625.
I make a motion to approve it, Judge, because we've got.
I got them to send me a quote because I just didn't want anybody to fix it. I wanted somebody to come get me a new one that could put it in and it's gonna last. I didn't want, you
so
know.
Bill, what you're saying is that you're going to approve this, taking in this out of your reserve contingency.
I'm proving it for you all to work out where the money's gonna come from.
Well, I mean,
because
this is
you
your
gotta have-
budget, not the treasurer's budget. So this is the
belt,
fiscal court's
the way I
budget.
understand it from talking with Angie prior to this, is a piece of equipment that we've gotta have regardless.
Right.
We gotta have, we have to
Right.
bail. It's our bailer.
But we still have to go through the technicalities in a fiscal court meeting, so we have all that on file.
Right, and it's, I don't think it, ever how y'all work, if we bring it out of the reserve, or if she.
Well, I need your approval in a fiscal court meeting so that I have authorization.
And I'd add to that bill, Judge, that Murray is authorized to take that out of reserve if necessary.
Okay, thank you. Sorry,
That's fine.
this is my job.
That's parts and labor, and is there a warranty on?
Oh, there'll be, there's
Yes,
usually
sir.
about a year warranty on it, so.
Did you get a second for that?
Usually we can,
Yeah.
they'll go for about
No
at least
second
3 or
yet,
4
is there?
years
I'll
before
second.
they.
Jamie's got it.
The second,
Second it right quick, Ronnie.
Magistrate Gay, and the motion is to approve the 6625, price quote on the conveyor belt replacement, and the money will come from the reserve if it has to,
Necessary, right?
if necessary.
Correct.
Understood?
Thank
Yeah.
We might can wiggle something around where we
For
won't
them to
have
work out the
Right.
money.
do
if-
that,
if-
you
if
know,
she
because
doesn't
I know
have the money
it's
to
something
come out
that
of
was
the
not
reserve.
expected, so
Right.
I'm gonna ask
Any
for a new
more,
one
any
next
further
year.
discussion?
That happens.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. I think that's it.
The only thing I got to say, your new magnets are made, they were from the recycling grant, so they're a little bit more updated. And again, I give you a paper for our hazardous household waste event on Saturday at the recycling center, 9:30 to 1:30, and I will be doing that in conjunction with Hometown Day, so have burger and a drink, come stop by, and I'll be on the radio live in the morning with Joe
Be
to
kind
talk
of
about it.
everybody should be out there.
Now, where will you, exactly where will you be?
I'll be right there at the recycling center, right in front of the
Right in
government
front,
services
right in
center.
front.
When?
Mhm. Saturday.
Saturday.
9:30 to 1:30.
You got another one of these by chance?
I do, and I left a bunch in your office, sir, on the thing.
I'll put these in my shop so that way.
Anybody want any extra ones?
I have more.
You take those bags that you get at Walmart,
This Saturday,
No.
7:30.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
All righty.
Did you get any more green cans for me yet, or what?
Huh?
Get any more green cans yet? So that way
Oh, yeah.
the public stops taking my stuff, or your stuff, I should say.
Call me.
Can you get Charlie Perry to agree to come back and, volunteer to work that day with you?
I can talk to him and ask him.
Tell him that I said he needs to come out and volunteer his time Saturday. 'Cause he does a good job of that.
I think that's.
You
his
gotta
tea
ask his
time.
wife first. That's his
Yeah.
new boss.
All
There
right,
you
thank
go. There
Thank
you
Miss
go.
Angie.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Angie.
it.
Tell him since you're recycling.
All right, send Miss Green in.
Yeah, he's afraid he's gonna get recycled.
We're doing all right. Oh, we're past an hour, Judge. We're running fine.
No, we're not.
We can do better.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can do better. That's not an Air Force slogan.
We can be all we can be. That's the Army slogan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to introduce our new finance officer, Mariah King.
Hello?
Hi, Mariah, welcome.
Hi, Mariah, welcome.
Mariah, welcome. Now, she taking, what you call his place? Or she?
Mark.
Or she just?
Mark,
Yeah.
this is a
The
new
old-
position.
The old Jacob Pankey position.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you'll be working with,
She'll be working right across from Miss Ann.
yeah, okay.
She get hazard pay then?
Taking Jacob's place.
You all be nice to her. I know her mother's. Be kind to her.
What's the wife's name?
King. You've seen, everybody should have seen the Boyle
Yeah.
Were you,
Welcome.
Yeah, last week. Thank
were you by any chance, this is off the record, any chance related to the lady that's being buried today, Sandy King?
I do know a Sandy King, that's my husband's grandmother.
Okay, sweet lady, she did my taxes years ago.
Yeah, she's really sweet.
Yeah.
Her and her
Sweet,
husband.
real nice person. I hate to see her pass away. That cancer's tough.
I don't think
we
it's the
must be
same
thinking of
person
the
you're
same
talking
different
about.
Sandy King then.
Yeah,
She
different
hasn't passed away.
Oh, this is the one I'm talking about.
Okay, never mind then, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you.
Have a queen and a king in the same room now.
Yeah.
Is there any other,
Yeah.
questions or comments of Miss King while we have her?
Well, I'm glad you brought her by to
Well, when you,
introduce her. Thank
be
you very
friendly
much.
to her when you come into the office out there, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what's the start
He's
date?
being nice now.
Today,
He's on
today.
camera.
Oh, today's the day.
And two,
Do you need a motion to approve or judge? We already done that.
we've already done that, yes, sir. We're good to go. Just a matter of introduction. When's our first date?
Today.
Today's first date, great, thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a comp time agreement for.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion to approve the comp time agreement,
Nathan Brown,
for
what's
Mr. Brown and,
Aye.
that was made by Magistrate Salmon, seconded by Magistrate Cohen. All those in favor
Okay.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries, thank you.
Okay. And the last thing.
One quick question on,
Yes.
getting back to this lady since she's gone. What's her past life? What's she been doing?
She's worked for Brighter Choice.
Her resume was in our last.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm
She,
sorry.
she's a welcome addition. She'll be a bright spot on
Good,
it.
good. I'm sorry. I
We're just
asked
trying to
her
get
a
you the
question.
early lunch line.
I'm sorry I asked her a question. Moving right
Okay.
along.
Kronos?
The Kronos contract. I put an agreement in the packet. Just need approval so we can go forward.
Shannon emailed that to me a while back and I've reviewed it. I mean, I didn't see any problems with
Yeah. Appreciate you
I
having.
move we approve the contract as presented.
Second.
Okay, made by Magistrate Gay, motion to approve the contract and seconded by Magistrate Caywood. Discussion on the Kronos contract, which we've had presentation on before and previous.
Are all the kinks worked out for employees calling in or getting in or somehow?
It will be.
It's very flexible,
Yes.
very flexible. And I know there may have been some complaints from employees, but not, you know, anytime you change something like this, you're gonna get, what about me, you know, what if, when I wanna do this, when I do that, you know, it'd be okay. This program has a great deal of flexibility and accuracy.
Well, I hope it.
Okay.
I hope it's-
Any more discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor of approving the cross contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see what's next. Oh, good gracious, we're down to the treasurer section.
Hot dog, and you know, it won't take me long.
That's the way I like to
Thank
hear it.
you. Thank you.
Magistrate Sammons, if you'll just bear with me just for a moment. I'm just presenting the quarterly financial statement. You don't have to approve it, but what I do want to present to you is the longer sheet of paper. I hope everybody had the opportunity to look at your Constitution Square endowment statement and the agency fund, which is the fiscal court fund, has a principal balance all the way over to the right. In the middle of the report there, you can see an ending balance of $344,129. And in addition to that, moving on down to the bottom of the page there, you have $38,600 in your grant account, and you have a one-time request that will come in December. So please do your homework and see what you may want to prioritize at Constitution Square and draw an amount out of that $38,600 that you think you would need for reimbursement of those. So the next one on the next page is your Friends of Constitution Square, and those are the ones where individuals can actually obtain if they request through the Department of Revenue, because this grant program is still going on. If you request through the Department of Revenue the ability to obtain a tax credit, you can donate to the endowment, and depending upon even any tax bracket, you get that written off of your tax return of taxes owed. So,
We really need to promote that program a lot more than
Yeah.
what it's been, that's for sure.
but it was renewed for this fiscal year.
Well, we tried to promote it within, Jack Hendricks, bless his heart, really pushed this,
Yeah.
making donations for each one of us.
Yeah.
He wanted each one of us to put up
Yeah.
$1,000 each, fiscal court member here.
So you're at $21,643. The threshold, or the seed money that they call, is $25,000 before you can start drawing any interest off of these monies as in the form of a grant. So we're getting close. There are still donations given here and there, and as you can see, you're in the negative because there are fees down there in your grant account. There are fees that you still have to pay even though you don't have grant money available. So those are your two Constitution Square endowment accounts.
For the record, and Magistrate Caywood and I spoke about this the other day again, and it's not new, that we have moss on several of the Constitution Square roofs, and we know that there are some problems beyond that. For the record, that's going to be a financial crisis to us easily within the next 10 years, because we've gone beyond the termination date that those type shingles should be replaced, and that's going to be a very difficult item for us to handle sometime like that.
Well, it seemed like we just, we discussed that, and then we dropped it, wasn't it?
We discussed doing about one cabin a year at an approximate cost of around $7,000 to
Yeah, right.
clean the moss off and to refurb the shingles. I don't know, or replace, I don't know what that was. But
Dwayne was supposed to
Dwayne was
get.
checking into.
Yeah, he was checking
Maybe
in
we
that
can-
about the shingles.
I'll make a note to re-engage with him and see where
Didn't
he's
we
at.
allocate that money?
Yes, you're absolutely correct.
I thought
Thank
we
you.
did.
You did a good job. You actually have money in the budget for one of those roofs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought we
I
did
thought-
last
yeah,
year.
we did, yeah.
I thought we had it last year.
We did, and we
did.
carried that
And
over.
we
One
need-
of the things that I think you all were talking about before you move forward is you're waiting to see what the committee set as priorities.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
but you're right, Mary.
That might be something the committee might need to work on.
Who's on that committee? John? You on
Ben
the
Miles.
committee?
Ben Miles is the chairman, he was just
I
here.
know he's chairman, but,
Nobody
I'm
else
talking
from
about
us
fiscal
is
court
on that.
number.
He said
We
in
have
on
a,
it.
anybody on that, Judge? We don't have.
Well, Jason and I are assigned to work with.
Yeah, they are, that's
You
right.
are the
Park
Parks
Committee.
Committee.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just didn't recall them. All right,
And then last but not least, your energy efficiency, I'm submitting that for the record, so that you have a subsidiary report where we're actually paying your bondholders. And that's, let's call it your sinking fund that I submit to you because it goes to a bank who's your trustee, who then in turn disperses those funds back out to your bondholders. So I present those to you because they're not in your regular budget. So thank you for that. That's all I have for the quarterly report.
Good job, Murray. I hate to-
okay,
I hate
and
to see
we're
you
going
go,
through,
Murray.
what's next, the CFA report?
Yeah, and everybody should have a copy of the CFA report. It's an odd looking, it's entitled, well, it doesn't have CFA at the top. It's the Boyle County Fiscal Court Fiscal Year End 1920, and it's prepared on 8/13/2020. And it's called, the underlined portion, top portion of that is Federal Grantor, Pass-Through Grantor Program or Cluster Titles. Does everybody have a copy of that? Yeah, you should have, you got it in your packet.
Yeah.
So, and I just want to let you all know that what's coming ahead, because as I was required to prepare this on behalf of the fiscal court, you have a lot of federal funds that have passed through your budget in last fiscal year. And the first one was the Battlefield Land Acquisition Grant, and that was for $455,000. That's where we purchased that property to add to the battlefield. We will be doing that again, looks like in September and October. We're working on that still as we've progressed through. That's a Steedman tract. So we have to report that set of money. Then we also have emergency planning, and that is a portion of your EMA director's salary, $19,234. And then you have another two items here, Fema Funds. So to be perfectly honest with you, with a single audit, they don't care when you get the money, it's when you spent the money. So as you know, we have FEMA disaster assistance that to date, we're going to be applying for $53,354. That's as of June 30th. That's our cutoff date. And then we have donations of $15,487. So
I don't understand the difference of the FEMA line item and the FEMA donations.
we had, there was a warehouse stationed up in Lexington that you could go pick up items, PPE for free, that came directly from the federal government.
Gotcha, thank you.
So we've recorded those. There's also the grant, highway planning and construction of $24,611. That's the trails grant, sorry. And then as you move down, you have two CARES Act items. And so you have a total of $1,487,000 that far exceeds the $750,000 threshold for a single audit. So I want you to be prepared that you will be having a single audit that will occur this fiscal year, and they can be costly. So we didn't budget a single audit, but we need to probably put something like that in your budget from reserve whenever we get to that point. So just understand that.
Would you want to guess what that amount might be?
Mariah, I forget.
It has run, the last time we had one, and keep in mind, it's probably been 8 years since we've had a single audit when the threshold was lower, because they raised that threshold about 5 years ago. It ran around $8,000. So it could be probably 10 to, because once you open up a single audit door, your current audit looks at your federal funds, but they don't delve deep into them. They look at, superficial. They do certain testing. But when you get into a single audit, then they start looking at how you comply with the contracts and procurement and making sure you comply with wage and hour, which we've been written up before in the past. So when they start building this trail, well, this is for next year, but a lot of that wage and hour comes into play with the trails, but we've complied with all that. So they start looking at every intricacy of all of this federal funding and in depth and detail, as opposed to with a state audit. Thank you.
The wage and hour computation goes against our in-kind service of providing to the grant also?
It does, but you also have to pay your contractor a certain, the Kentucky Department of Labor sets out prevailing wage rates that you have to comply with. But when you're using federal money, you also have to comply with the Davis-Bacon Act. And that's for anything over $1,000 in a contract. So there's a lot of wage rates that, and we always, instead of doing Davis-Bacon, we usually do the Kentucky Department of Labor's wages because they're higher than the actual Davis-Bacon wages. So we've always complied with those. But somebody has to monitor those. With past grants, there was a on-site. I'm talking about when that payroll hits, the fiscal court has to be responsible to make sure that those people are being paid the wage that was actually put in the specification to comply with. So it becomes it's a monitoring nightmare sometimes with federal money. But if you have the right staff in place that's aware of what the laws and the rules are, compliance is relatively simple. Okay.
Okay, what's next on your list? Let's see.
And then we have, this is yours, the 2020 tax rate. And I circulated a couple sheets of paper for you to review. I don't know if anybody has any questions about that, but what I do is, I said do.
You did. Doo-doo has been called.
That's technical.
I like that doo-doo much better.
So as you can see, I have all the way over on the short sheet of paper, I have all the way over the 2020, and I guess I'm a little confused because I didn't see anybody else's information who has come before you, but when they said they took the compensating rate, I have presented here the 6.7% is your compensating rate. That actually, because your assessments have gone up, and that's the long sheet of paper, 93,000, but actually it's 65,000, $63,066 in real property and 63,066,000 in real property and 18,141,000 in personalty. Those are your drivers for your real property and your personalty rates. So since that went up to that magnitude, your tax rate, if you take the compensating rate, will go from 6.8 to 6.7%. And during COVID-19 times, I think that's just a blessing in itself. Keep in mind at your example down there at the bottom, it's $1 to counties. That's just the county. That's what we're receiving, the fiscal court. That doesn't include the full tax bill because you heard there's a variety of other entities that are on the same tax bill as you, as well as schools. Looking at that long sheet of paper, your total assessment has gone up $93,769,000. Your HEX has also increased though, but not to the magnitude, as you can see that it increased last year. So if you go to the middle of that sheet on your long form, you can see that, and the hex is your homestead exemption. So when that goes up, you're collecting less taxes because those are deductions to the overall tax collections for those that qualify for that homestead exemption.
What, Mary, we just getting more older people moving in?
Well, this year was not a bad year. If you look at 1920, it was 7,094,000 more. This year, it's only 1,854,000 more that have applied for a homestead exemption. So they're not dropping off, they're adding to it. We add to it almost every year. You can go through there and everything's a negative, which means you're adding to it, which decreases your tax revenue. But you can see down there, where your total growth is coming from. And so your real rate last year was 6.8, and your personal T rate was 8.41, and your compensating rate, going back to your short sheet, is 6.7 and 7.8, rounding. That's with rounding. It was.
So is this where are we ready to approve the if we want the compensating rate?
If you want the compensating rate. And what I'd like for you to do so that we can prepare the tax bills efficiently and effectively is I have a recommended list here for you that I would like for you to read specifically and approve, just because we'll have it in the minutes that way. And I have to refer to the book and page of your order book to identify those taxes that we're approving.
So you're talking about this list on the...
No.
Yeah,
on the
under
That list
recommended. Under recommended.
Right here,
Okay.
yeah, so I can read that with the 2020 rates and put that into the record.
Yes, if you all choose to, those are your compensating rates, and anything over compensating requires hearings. Even, a 1/10%.
Okay, you want to read that, or you want?
Well, probably, yeah, let me read that, then we'll entertain a motion to approve once it's read, okay? Boyle County Fiscal Court 2020 tax rates are as follows to consider for approval. Real compensating rate, 6.7. Personal property based on real rate, 7.8. Distilled spirits, 7.8. Aircraft, 7.8. Watercraft, let me get my alignment here so I don't.
7.8.
Watercraft at 7.8. Tobacco in storage is non-applicable,
No assessment.
no assessment, okay. Agriculture products, 4.5.
We're only allowed to do state rates.
Motor vehicle and watercraft, 6.9. Inventory in transit, counties are unable to tax, only subject to special districts. And so, that is the recommended tax rates for Boyle County Fiscal Court 2020.
Why are the rates being reduced on, why are we reducing those rates?
If
Yeah,
you're
I'm
taking
fine
the
with the
compensating rate, the
You have to stay within
I know we're doing that, but
the appraisal has gone up, so it's caused the compensating rate to go down.
yeah.
I make the motion, we approve the
Second.
rates as read by the judge.
Motion made by Magistrate Gaines, seconded by Magistrate Short.
Compensating rate.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Yes, sir.
Mary, on the long sheet,
Yes,
just real quickly,
yes.
tobacco in storage, what's the story there? There was-
If I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correctly, that was in an inaccuracy of filing on behalf of the taxpayer. When they certified that, they got the number in the wrong line.
Oh, okay. It just kind of jumped out at you.
A comment on distilled spirits, folks, even though I've been a teetotaler now for 38 years, look at the revenue stream that's come with what we're doing here in the county. 0 in 2015 and 3.84 million for this fiscal year.
And then you note your growth at the bottom. Your
Yeah.
growth is in
Yeah.
the last 2 years.
Right.
That's why I put this together for you. It's good, it's kind of
Thank
good information to consume.
It is. Good information.
Yep. Now, do we need to,
Yes,
approve the,
Conservation District.
all of them one at a time, or do you approve them?
No, we don't approve anything except the Conservation District
Because
because,
of the millage tax.
yeah,
aspect of
because
it.
they send that to you directly. So we get 2 separate packets,
Okay.
one for the fiscal court and then one for the Conservation District. And that's at,
One.
yes, 1.01 per hundred, yes, or no,
Yeah.
0.01%.
Right.
And this might be a question for Chris. As of July 15, with the new, I believe it's Senate Bill 5, we could push back on any one of these or all of them. Is that correct?
I read that as effective January 1.
Okay.
I pull all your tax statutes and read those before I bring this to the fiscal court. And those that I understand it start January 1.
So this time next year, we could look at them.
And I'm sure they'll do training about
I'm
that.
not familiar with Senate Bill 5, so I'd have to research that.
I move we approve, the conservation.
Second that.
Do we vote on any other motion?
Yeah.
No.
We didn't?
I think we did.
Huh? It carried.
Oh, okay.
On the tax rate,
Yeah, that's right.
it was made by Magistrate Gaines, second by Magistrate Caywood, and we voted on that, if I'm not mistaken. Gaines Short, excuse me. Okay, there again. I mean,
I'm just,
I'm not trying to beat.
Well, they look alike,
Yeah.
so I can understand.
Oh, they do look alike. It's a haircut. isn't it? No, I mean, okay. Let's
Move right along.
let's vote. We got a motion to approve the Conservation District tax rate.
Right,
In the
1 cent
second,
per hundred.
made by
Yeah.
Magistrate Gaines, seconded by whom?
Me.
Caywood.
John Caywood, Magistrate
Look
Caywood.
alike, yes.
Any discussion on the Conservation District tax rate? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
now that we've, just a quick question, looking at those that presented, looks like the extension office is going up. Is that what I understand? I'm looking at my tax bill from last year, and it says agriculture. Is that the extension office?
It is.
So last year it was 0.57750 per 100, and from my understanding this year that they're raising it to it would be 0.6543. Is that what I heard?
She said they were taking the compensating rate
All
at
right.
6.543.
So.
Yeah, and I don't get any of that information, so I don't know any answers to
So I
any of
guess
that.
this goes back to Tom and Senate Bill 5. This is where it'll be.
After
Next year, we can
January
act
1
on it.
next year.
We can actually have some input on this because, I mean, that's, everyone else stayed the same. And
Well, we
library
went down.
down.
That's the part that confuses me, is we actually, our tax rate was lowered.
The county tax rate went lower.
Yeah.
Well, which is interesting because they're very close to what we charge. I mean, we charge 0.068 per 100, and now they're up to 0.065. So we're paying to the extension office almost as much as we pay to the county. I'm trying to understand the logic there with the services that the county provides versus the services that the ag office provides.
It was these issues statewide that caused Senate Bill 5 to catch fire. And I got input from several of the business leaders in the community, hoping that statute would take it down to 0 and that any entity would have to argue for anything.
I
It
pay
did
more,
not happen
I
that
pay
way.
more to the library than I do the county.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Library don't need it.
stayed at the compensating rate.
All right,
All right, thank you, that's why I just wanted to verify these numbers.
CARES MOU. I have before me, as part of the process and procedures regarding the CARES Act reimbursement, the initial filing has gone forward to DLG. And that process now includes a memorandum of understanding or agreement that the county signs, authorized me to sign for, to work with the state as part of the process that clearly defines on what the reimbursement is all about, what it's for, and, you know, everything on dealing with CARES Act, okay? It's just part of the process. We do a form submission of our request by item, and then we also will, have this MOU and memorandum of agreement, which I think was in your packet, so.
It is.
I need an authorization for me to carry forward to sign the MOU, so we can continue on the process procedurally to get our CARES reimbursement.
I'll make that motion, Judge, to give
So
you the
I'll second
authority.
it, or
Motion made by Magistrate Simmons, seconded by Magistrate Ellis. Okay.
And the finance committee did
Recommend.
review this information and was recommending moving forward with this
Right.
process.
Has there been a detail of what we're using this for?
Yes, there was a long sheet. in
Yeah, it
your-
was submitted
in
to
your,
you all not
We
too
had
long
it,
ago.
I thought we had it last.
At the last
meeting,
court meeting,
That's
yeah.
what I thought.
Yeah.
There was a detailed breakdown.
Moving right along.
Money.
Okay,
That's all for the motion.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. That takes us up to, if I'm not mistaken, according to my agenda, committee reports. Who would like to go first? That's Ellis.
On Monday, before our last meeting, we did not meet in person, but I had a long conversation with Dwayne about Public Works Committee, and then he submitted, and it's in handwritten form, Mary, is that?
That's
is that-
perfect.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
I heard Jamie going to type his up. A second round of mowing was completed, and folks, if you're looking at your own yards, we're gonna be mowing for a long time with all, we had a drought last year, and this year is burgeoning. I know the judge has seen this too and probably gotten calls on it. We have Johnson grass over 5 feet tall, but Dwayne and his group are doing an extraordinary job on it. If anybody visited Allen Springs earlier in the year, there must have been, 20 yards by 100 yards of trees and mulch out there when we were out there.
Oh, at least.
That's all been taken care of now.
Mountains of mulch.
Well, for now.
For now.
They're clearing out all the trees on 2168.
And I was gonna bring that up in new business, but it is an issue. If you've driven 2168, we could save a lot of money if we could get a burn permit, but I doubt you could on that road, because that's gonna be a huge undertaking financially to move everything that they've taken down. You've seen it too. It's just, I mean, you're talking about 10, 12 semi containers full at least.
It'd be good to have, something out there to mulch as it's cut down, you know.
We wish we had that.
Yeah, we don't have that equipment, and even that cost to a vendor would be extraordinary. Dwayne gave a detailed report about Constitution Square. We all know about that, heard about it in our last meeting, and complimented both the school and the women's Danville Garden Club, technically. We got our report that next day on the 11th about the resurfacing. It's been a perennial problem that the long arm mower has been breaking down, and it broke down again a couple of weeks ago. If you're not familiar with that, that's when they go up and they go down the side of a road and they can go vertical and do the mowing. And Dwayne has told us that he will request a replacement next fiscal year.
It's about time, that thing's been breaking down for 20 years.
Yeah, it has. And that causes a lot of calls when you've got the number of roads that some of us have that need that type of mowing. He mentioned that next day, the 5 culverts, and I mentioned that it's in the minutes, that we want to work collaboratively with the state out toward Perryville on 150. Tremendous number of severe storm cleanup, trees and limbs were reported, and we've had some more of that subsequent to that. He did mention the Kentucky 2168. We're looking to replace the brick entrance on 4th Street entrance to the courthouse. Judge, I don't know any more status on that. Is there any news?
I have not had any discussions lately on that.
And we've been getting prices for replacing the brick sidewalk at Constitution Square, which again, we've been talking about for 7 or 8 months, maybe even longer. So that completes our report from the 10th.
All righty.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion made by Manager Simmons to approve the minutes of the report, and seconded by Manager Cullen. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next report.
Finance Committee met this month, and it was myself, Magistrate Sammons, Judge Hunt, Treasurer Conley, and FEMA Administrator Rusty Cox were in the meeting, and we discussed the CARES funding money, which has been moving towards finalizing today in our packet. And we also discussed about the strategic plan moving forward with the FEMA money, since this time is a little more unusual than most, and it's kind of a rolling emergency situation and disaster. And so we're still working with Rusty on the FEMA funding request.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about insurance too, just
Yeah.
health insurance. We talked about, just so you know that we're not just waiting until the renewal time, but our broker presented a variety of, our broker wasn't there, but they provided a variety of options to consider for your pharmaceutical plan, for your network moving forward, what they call reference-based pricing, and where we were this year. We're doing well this year with our plan.
Thank you for reminding me of
Yeah.
that. And we did discuss the fact that, we talked about the fact that we've been very pleased with the broker and
Yes.
the work that they're doing on our behalf.
Okay, motion to accept.
So moved.
Motion to
Second.
accept the minutes as presented by Magistrate Allen, seconded by Magistrate Sammons. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next report.
EMS Committee on 8/11, present were myself, Master Caywood, General Hunt, Director Rogers, and Major Wesley. We considered the full-time hire of James Crawford. It's James Crawford, right, sir? John, remember?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Starting on 8/11, we considered a part-time hire of Estrella Godby. She also started on the 11th. We talked about this little monitor purchase at about $139,000. EMS had their inspection on the 13th, and then Major Wesley gave us a brief truck update. And I'll go ahead and submit those minutes for your enjoyment.
Motion to accept the minutes made by Magistrate Cullen. Is there a second? Second by Magistrate Caywood. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next. Is there any other reports? Committee reports? I'll take that as a no, so we're moving along to new business, and we'll start with District 1.
Thank you, sir. Yesterday, I received a telephone call from a gentleman in Texas. He has been coordinating on oversized trucks, overweight trucks, road conditions in an 11-state region that he's over. with the Coalition Against Bigger Trucks. It is actually working out of some concerns in Washington, D.C. If you've ever been behind a triple, and I know that FedEx has some that I've seen out in the Midwest when I've driven, but there are grave concerns both in terms of the condition of our roads and the accident concerns that this national organization has. Since 2012, this gentleman, Rick Cowan, and I'm going to send you all information on it because we talked for some time yesterday, he's been coordinating with Shelley Hampton at CAECO and is looking for some support after we review the materials that he's going to be sending to me. I can absolutely testify to the fact that 150, which we'd have to really twist some arms at the state level with our fiscal concerns that we have, it is often the bypass road to keep from the way stations that I-64 has had in the past. So that's just one concern, but on all of our roads, overweight trucks are a concern to our budget. Secondly, and critically, with the Ag Department, and I talked to Alan out in the hallway before I came in. If you haven't seen this, because it's kind of under the radar, but the state administration, in this time when Mary mentioned, thank goodness we've got some diminished taxes, on all ag products in the state, the administration has just either proposed or acted on, and I'm not sure which because I just became aware of this yesterday early, but Commissioner Quarles is looking for some support to fight back against any increases, especially if you've been noticing that he's been in half the counties with food banks and others, making sure that if farmers have any excess products or can discount their products, that they would make sure that some of the folks who are suffering financially because of COVID have food on the table. And it's going to be a bit of a controversy if that can't be rescinded. That's two acts of a similar nature because the administration is also trying to pull $11 million away from Fish and Wildlife, which statutorily apparently they cannot do. I've already made my comments about taxing districts, and thanks for clearing that up. And I already made my comment about the disposal of the materials on 2168, going to be a huge cost item.
We'll have to talk more about that.
Is that all covered under the grant? So the stuff we're talking about is all for the trail.
Yes.
So would the disposal of all that be covered under the grant?
I sure hope so.
I don't know. There was a whole lot of preparedness that went along with this trails grant, and I'm assuming that that's where our in-kind comes into play.
Okay.
From a personal experience, to show you what kind of cost we could face, we had one 12-inch tree cut, mulched, and hauled off, and it was $400. And that's tiny compared to what I witnessed when I went on 2168 recently. So I hope that we can make that qualify.
Well, it's all Dwayne's. It's all Public Works that's doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all
But
part
still,
of.
it's billable hours.
I know, it's all been submitted as in-kind, so we're not paying cash. We don't have a cash outlay. We've got an in-kind or what they call a force account.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What's Mr. Cowan looking for?
He's looking for support of potential legislation in D.C. Because he's one of many all across the country who are concerned about overweight trucks, destroying roads, and overweight trucks that do apparently cause accidents.
But he is going through CAECO.
He has been working with them since 2012.
He sent information to, I think, all of us.
I think he's probably communicated with all of us.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him. I'm glad that you did. But
Well, perhaps he called me because I didn't respond because I went to junk mail and trash and to all my emails and I had nothing from him.
Well, he's mailing material out. I don't understand why Judge and Tom and myself live on 150, with all these trucks, why isn't somebody with the state out looking at this and trying to, you know, they know that this, like Tom said, is a bypass. They come down, instead of 70 or 64, then 75, they come through 150, since there's better roads, since they, you know, open Springfield up. I don't understand why the state's not having people out there enforcing that or trying to catch some of these people.
And the interesting thing is, when the judge and I met last year about the bridge in Perryville, they had very specific data about the number of trucks, and you would be shocked at the number of trucks on
Not
that.
if you wouldn't be shocked if you live on that road.
Do you realize how much this goes on in every state? These truckers knows all these routes to get away from.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah, to
every
get away
state's-
from way stations, yeah.
Every state has got the same problem.
But enforcement is what.
But that's it, you
Sam
haven't got
Don't
enough
have-
people
don't
to
have the
enforce it.
manpower to
That's right,
enforce
don't
it,
have the
yeah.
manpower to do it, so.
Yeah.
And just
Are you
to,
through?
just to give a little bit
I
of
passed,
update.
I don't need to.
All right.
Moving right along. We're
Dwayne said we have
schedule.
approval and have been burning the brush down Springs.
Go ahead.
Mayor Simmons?
I have nothing else.
Nothing. Thank you, sir. Councilman?
I don't have anything today.
We'll give you all a break today.
Oh, gosh, thank you.
Thank you. How about Jay? Gonna give us a break?
I have nothing today.
Oh, boy, I'm loving it so far.
No, we're doing great, we're doing great, we're on schedule.
Do you want to guess?
No, no, John's got something.
Just real quick, and I didn't think to ask Ben when he was here, but along with the cameras in the Constitution Square, I would suggest consideration be given to some small signs that point out that there are cameras, because that psychologically,
Yes,
I
yes,
think
good idea.
may help that effort for the reasons they're there.
Good
To
idea.
let them know that they are being viewed, so that should be part of the project.
I like
in my
it.
opinion.
I like it.
Good idea.
I'd say cameras are good, but unless you have like a DVR system backing up where you can go back and look at stuff, they're kind of worthless, because nobody's gonna sit there.
This
and watch.
system did come with some backup.
And it'll also have a cloud.
Yeah, in the cloud. Anything else? Okay, thank you. I've got a couple of
pretty big.
really important things under my new business. Gentlemen, the Mercer County has approved the joint jail ratio, and they approved, we need to do the same. I know that some of you were at the joint jail meeting. That ratio is 71 Boyle, 29 Mercer, and we need to consider approving that along with the per diem rate that has been calculated at $40 per diem rate for the jail.
I'll make that
Ratio.
motion.
Little,
I'll make that motion.
Motion to approve the
Percentage and
ratio and
And the per diem rate.
the per diem rate of
As
$40.
presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Magistrate Short. Discussion.
the true discussion should be our jailer. Is he not here for this, or?
No.
Well, he was at the joint jail meeting that approved it, and he actually made the second on the per diem.
This was.
This is something I have to have in place before I can accept any more money from Mercer County.
Right.
I understand.
And then the per diem is specific to what we are charging the inmates when they leave the jail, because we give them a bill when they leave. So this is a revenue issue for the budget. If we don't set the per diem, I think it's at 30, it's less than it is, right now I think it's less than what it is today. So what that does is it allows them to pay us back for their stay at our lovely, in their facility.
My only thing is this is the second meeting in a row where we've discussed the jail and the jailer's not been here. I think if we discussed stuff that had to do with fiscal.
Well, this is fiscal, it's a financial
Well, I mean,
issue.
but if we're discussing anything and you weren't here, I think that would be an issue. So any time we're discussing relevant stuff to the jail, I would ask that, even though it's under new business, I would ask that you have the jailer here.
Well,
to
it's
discuss.
important to know that the jailer had asked to be at the meeting, but with the full agenda, it was decided that with
He
this
did.
brief
We already,
discussion.
he did.
Okay.
He requested And I said, looking at this, it has potential to be.
We knew Mary could carry the ball
Yeah.
on this.
For this
That's-
ratio.
I think it's just common courtesy, though.
Yeah.
If we're gonna discuss stuff that's
Well, he would've
happening
been here.
under his elected position, we really should have him here.
Well, put it on me then.
I always do.
The other thing that I want to bring before the court is I just think, we have some new hires in the county, and there's one position in particular that we have agreed upon to take a person from the FO position and put them in the treasurer's position, double line against the projected loss of our current treasurer. And when we did that, everybody did that, we approved that. One thing that we did not consider was the value of the position that person, Keegan Eagle, will be moving into from FO to treasurer. We need to appropriately agree upon a compensation rate or salary that is commensurate with that position, okay? And there are certain surveys of information that we are privy to with CACA, excuse me, that discuss a minimum, a median, and a maximum salary by both population and by budget size. In particular, in this Boyle County, I would like to enter into discussion and suggest that we consider a salary adjustment to a certain point. And that point I would start out with, and willing to hear discussion on it, I would like to start out at $55,000. I'm willing to entertain discussions of other amounts.
Harking back to my corporate experience, when the judge called me, we went through several of those issues that we had with 2,200 employees at one of the places that I worked. And knowing the incredible consequences of having the right person to, you don't listen to it, to replace an exceptional treasurer.
Don't forget your bottle, don't forget your bottle.
When the judge showed to me the data of other compensation of like size budgets, like size counties, I was very much in favor of doing this. And then we talked about probation, which you might mention.
He still has to serve a probation period, but so far both our current treasurer, our distinguished current treasurer, and myself are very impressed with this gentleman's ability to take the fire hose approach to a learning curve and be very teachable is not the right word. He has a great zeal for wanting to do this job. He feels blessed to have the opportunity. I am confident in his abilities as is the treasurer at this point, but it's bears fact, like any person walking this planet, he will be monitored and viewed upon by not only myself, but this court as he goes forward.
That was as compelling to me as the other data that the judge showed me.
I have a question for the treasurer. Is he meeting your and the judge's expectation?
With the tasks that he's been presented and the training that he's had, he's very efficient and has a propensity, like I do, to make sure that it's correct on the front end, and is very conscientious about, how things are on the back end. So
He understands the importance.
I have a lot of different feelings about a lot of different people that I've trained, and he has the ability to be very competent in the field in which, he offers information. Thank God we've been out of balance twice now, and he's been able to give input and insight on how to actually find those imbalances, and which, I have to say that was kind of surprising to me, because a lot of people they look at me and they're looking for me to answer those questions, and instead of offering some insight on their own. So
It's a breath of fresh air, let me say.
Okay. Judge, you need a motion then?
Well, I want, just a second, if you don't mind.
I would suggest, I think, we need to get him more in the appropriate range for the job and the task that he's going to be challenged with and responsible for. As we all know, huge shoes to fill, he obviously couldn't be getting trained by any better treasurer in the state of Kentucky right
Thank
now.
you, that's very nice.
So he's got that going for him for sure. I just think that, I guess I would like to see us maybe consider moving him to 50,000, and then after he completes his probationary period, that then we talk about it, and even maybe really put that as part of this process at some number, whether it be that extra 5,000 or an extra 2,500 or whatever, and make that move at the end of his probationary period.
Judge, I certainly think that's an excellent idea. I just had not thought of it. I wanted to comment one thing that has been amazingly impressive to me, that I fancy myself a bit of a wordsmith, and what Mary knows about statutes and regulations is going to be a brain trust that we lose. That's why I talked about the consulting role that I had hoped that you could help us with. But how you can compact 30 years into the next month and a half, it's impossible. But can he go to CAECO or anywhere and get orientation? So we
Well, you know, it's funny, I actually wrote a treasurer's training program for the treasurers across the state. They quit using it for some reason about 5 years ago, but I trained for almost 10 years newly appointed treasurers, and I have the curriculum in my office for that. It was through the Kentucky Association of County Treasurers and Finance Officers. We're going to do that specifically, and we're going to spend a lot of time on, and you know, a lot of our policies are fiscal court policies. We're going to spend a lot of time on your administrative code, because he's going to have to be able to sit here like I did today and say, I have to have you direct me in the minutes so what I do is legal for the county as a whole. Because regardless of what you all think, the treasurer has statutes that if I fail in how we do our jobs, we have the same problems that you have as elected officials, even more so because it's financial. So I'm going to go through a lot of those documents with him, and we're going to spend some time learning how to use LRC to our advantage during new legislative processes. You know, each session brings a host of a variety of different information, and how to do your job. And like with the tax rate, the first thing I do before I sit down and even begin to look at tax rates is I pull all those statutes, and I have a huge file, and I reread all those statutes. He's going to have to understand that same thing too, to keep not only himself legal, but you legal as well. And that's what my main goal is.
Does
is
he
to
understand Murray, I just wonder, you've always been, John and I have been here a long, long time, and you've always been so conscientious of doing everything legal and keeping yourself straight with the auditors. Does he have that understanding?
Yeah, I believe, in fact, last night, he was worried about, because I wanted to I like to train him, like, okay, so there's a portion that accounts payable does, or the finance officer does,
Right.
and that ends on Monday before a fiscal court at a certain time, and then the treasurer has a duty to do, and he wanted to make sure that everything was specific and cleaned up in his position, so when the new person came in today to take it over, they had a nice clean slate to work from, and he has a few things that he's going to work, but then, and he kept apologizing to me because he kept me late, and I walked out of here at 6:45, and he was still here finishing up some of the things that he wanted to get to Ann to make sure that you all had the information that you needed to do.
That's impressive.
Extremely.
And it didn't bother him at all that he kept apologizing to me because he was keeping me late, and I said no. But it was all about him being very conscientious about where he was leaving the day.
I think we've got a really, really good.
Where he was leaving the day.
But wait a minute, before I hear any motion, okay, let me say this. We did not vote on the joint jail ratio or the per diem. We discussed it. There's no further discussion. We need to vote on the joint jail ratio and per diem, which was presented by Magistrate Gay and Magistrate Short. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor of that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Now, we can talk about Keegan. I threw out 55, you threw out 50. What if we say 52 as a starting point?
I honestly, I mean, you and I had this conversation, and Jamie and I are on the same wavelength here. I would say we start at 50, and then we go through the probation period and look at increasing as we go through. So
After we appoint him, you're talking about, and after we appoint him treasurer.
Right.
I don't think, me personally, I don't think that we can, find a treasurer that's come in and take over for any less money than that. Where you gonna find a person that's got his qualification? I think, according to what Murray and the judge are saying, we're lucky and fortunate to have someone step in that's got the knowledge and the smarts, more or less, to do this, so, Judge.
He's got a lot of self-confidence.
Yes. Did somebody
you know,
make a motion, or?
Not yet.
I don't think that he really made a, you know, on the position, he didn't say what he had to have for this position. I mean, his understanding to me was the position he's getting was gonna be $30-something thousand.
No, not the one he's getting, the one he had.
That's what I'm saying, but that's what we just kinda discussed in our meeting, so he was willing to take the position even maybe a little bit above what he was making.
I have to say that nobody offered that to him. We had a conversation, and then you all finalized those numbers before the fiscal court meeting, when you set the actual job description, and then you all set a rate to go along with that job description. But unfortunately, nobody had a conversation with him about that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have no problem with.
I was quite surprised by the 35 for him stepping into the treasurer. I think 50 is a good number to start at, and I think that it will. I mean, he's already demonstrating that he wants to do this role. He wants to do it well, and so I'd say that we reward him with that extra compensation once we've gone through the probation period. The probation period.
Do we have, what kind of flexibility do we have in 6 months as far as our administrative code goes in a personnel matter like that?
That kind of stuff, you all can.
We have flexibility.
You have flexibility.
We have flexibility.
I don't have no problem giving, up your salary, because, I mean, it's hard to find somebody.
Yeah, so that's where I still stand with, and where I started.
I kind of disagree in a way about the probation period. He's going through a probation period, but I think that once Mary leaves, and at that day, when Mary leaves, that's when we appoint him as county treasurer. And at that time, I think we should shock him and give him the $5,000 increase.
I think he's watching this, so I don't know if he's going to be shocked.
Might not be shocked.
When is his probation period over?
6 months the time he started, which
He started really, so 6 months from now approximately.
we got another 4 months and a half, something like that. Any Murray?
Well, let's just clarify this. This is an appointment as opposed to an actual hiring. So
that's right.
you all can kind of work through this, because this gentleman would be an appointment who works for this whole body.
He works for, not just me, he works for the whole court.
Well, he's appointed, if I'm not mistaken, for a 4-year period.
That is correct, and he will be appointed to fulfill my term.
That's right. And then he will be, after you've got another 2.5 years on your appointment, I believe, or something like
Yeah.
that.
So you all can formulate this, however you all want to do
He'll be
this.
appointed at that time to fulfill your term, and then at that time, we'll have to reappoint him, or somebody will, for another 4 years.
How often does Phil come in and talk to you guys?
I heard that.
Not very often, 'cause that would sway me on giving him the extra $5,000.
What's this? What'd you say? I didn't get the question.
I make the motion that we increase his salary to $50,000, and then after 6 months on review, that we increase it another $2,500.
I'll second that.
But he would, I think, he would get almost that anyway, wouldn't he? What would percent, I don't know, I don't have a calculator in front of me.
Nor do I, Judge. And if you think I have that kind of mind, then
What is?
I have to do like 10% times 2.
What is it usually, a 3%?
No, it's
When's
2.5.
the,
It's
Jamie-
2.5 times 2.5.
Jamie, in your
So
motion,
it's
when's the
usually-
effective date of the pay raise?
Usually it's a
6
5% on a regular
months
employee.
From the time he takes over as treasurer.
No, I'm talking
Oh,
about
the current pay raise would be effective, at next pay.
immediately at the next pay raise,
Yeah.
payday.
Yeah,
That'd be Friday.
well, whenever the next pay,
I
it's
think
the next
it-
pay
when
period.
is it?
At the
No,
next pay
it's-
period.
when is the
She
next
actually
pay?
taking over for us.
It's last Friday, wasn't it?
It was last Friday.
Next month?
No, and that's something I think you all need to talk about. So you've hired a young lady into the finance officer / accounts payable position.
I don't remember, what did we start her at?
So we had talked, the judge had talked, so the judge had talked about moving him into an assistant treasurer's position. So, that's something I think maybe you need to talk about, giving him, a slight increase to train with me, and then once you actually appoint him, then this new treasurer's position. But I think you have a 3-tier thing going on here that you need to address.
Right, that makes sense.
Yes.
Well, we used to have an assistant treasurer who made about 55.
Starting?
He's been here a couple of years.
He was making around 50, and he was doing kind of occupational tax only, a very narrow schemed thing, and he was brought in at around 48, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he
You would
gone?
go like 45
He's
as the
gone.
assistant.
Good.
And
I
then-
mean, that's,
Yeah, that works.
But
do
that
that.
means we're gonna revisit
He's
this
got
in about
grass
30
roots,
days,
I don't think.
a little over 30 days, maybe.
I guess
That
my
September's
motion
coming
would-
pretty close, huh?
Yeah, my motion would be we increase his pay to 45,000 at next pay period, 50,000 when he takes over as, officially as treasurer, and upon review, upon a 6-month review after being appointed treasurer, increase to 52.5.
Just so you know, that 6-month review is standard, and 52.5 is 2,500, but you're not giving him anything extra.
He said 5.
You
He
said
didn't say
5%?
No, well, he said additional 5,000 after 6 months.
I said 50, I said 2,500, but I'm good to go up to the 5,000 after 6 months.
Oh, I thought you said 5.
I think it ought to be
You're saying after his
5,000.
review, he could be at 55.
Right. After his 6 months.
After his 6-month review, he
Okay,
could be.
let's be clear on that,
Yeah,
because.
I'm not. Yeah, I'd been saying 2,500, but I'm willing, I think if that's the will of the rest of the court,
Yeah.
I'm good with going up.
Go to
the
40,
6 months, you
let me,
go to
let me
about 2
restate the
Okay.
motion
Okay.
for everybody. The motion is to go to 4,500 as under the title of assistant.
45,000.
45,000 under the assistant treasurer title until such time that as things progress, he would be appointed treasurer by this court to go to 50, and upon a successful 6-month probation review, he would increase to 55 at that point. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Sounds good.
correct.
Can I clarify for payroll? So, 45 effective today.
Yeah, I was even saying next pay, starting at the next pay period. I'm not sure where we
No,
are in
I
the
would
pay
make it
period.
Well,
effective
then
today,
I
too.
think that's Thursday.
Okay, effective to whatever, yeah. You all help me out there.
No, it'd be, we got paid, it'd be
It's
the
a,
following week.
no, it's a timesheet. The timesheet,
I
the
would
pay
make it
period ends
effective
on
the beginning of the
Thursday.
next pay period, which is Thursday.
Good.
Thank
There
you.
go.
Okay?
Let's keep it clean.
Yeah, the next pay period, so.
All right.
Thursday.
Anybody second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Master Cullen. Motion made by Master
Seconded.
Jay.
I think
Discussion, Yanni.
Mr. Shorten already seconded, but that's.
Okay. Ronnie,
Are
I'm
you
gonna have to move
accepting-
you over
He
here.
Are you
said the
accepting the-
microphone.
Are you accepting the amendment, sir?
You accept? No, but there's really no amendment. This is the motion. is
I just
restated.
clarified the
You
motion.
got to move it back over there.
I know it. I better move you back over
I
there.
seconded originally. So
Okay, well,
anyway.
whatever.
Or Ronnie can have it.
Okay, my bad.
Have you can control this court, sir?
No.
I think before we vote on it, I'd like to, if you don't mind, Judge,
Yes, sir.
Murray's been in this and knows the county treasurers across the state, and you have from Caywood, and I think that, we need that. Murray, are we giving him enough, or should it be, I feel in my heart, we should raise it instead of 48 to 50 right now, but I'll go along with it. How do you feel about this?
Oh, I think what you've offered is fair. I think it's a good stepping,
Incentive.
a step, yeah, it is an incentive.
Okay,
That's
I'll call the
exactly right.
question.
Yep.
Okay, the question's been called and restate the motion, seconded by Magistrate Short. That we're at 45 effective at the beginning of the pay period, which is Thursday. The second, when he is appointed treasurer, upon the retirement of our current treasurer, he will be paid a salary of 50. And then a 6-month successful review will bring him an additional 5 to the salary scale.
Yes, correct.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. I got one other thing. It's more of a statement than anything else. I'm having issues. I gotta work with District 7 on the Parksville Cross Pike. According to Joe Tammy and some others that live out there, there are several 18-wheeler trucks that go across that cross pike from Lebanon Road to Perryville Road as directed by GPS. Now, that is a state road. And there was a witness to a 18-wheeler, think about this, sports fans, traveling down the cross pike doing excess of 50 miles an hour.
There's no room out there, folks.
There's no shoulder on a lot of it, and one 18-wheeler had to take the shoulder, which there was none, and laid up against 2 trees. If he hadn't had the trees there, he'd have rolled over when he met a hay wagon coming down the road. We need to work with, I need to work with District 7 to get that speed prohibited, just like 151, which had to go through a suit up in Anderson County to get that prohibited. But it's because the people out here at the industrial park, to no fault of them, are putting in their GPS and directing them through the cross pipe. We need to change that. And District 7 is the only one that can help us change that.
Well, that, a few years ago, that bridge out there was put in, and it should have been about 4 foot wider. But if you look at it, just like a school bus and a car trying to pass on that small, narrow bridge, I don't see how these 18-wheelers get through there, I really don't.
I don't either, but, if there be no other business before the court, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, and then before we go too far, we have about 5 minutes. Okay? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Made by Magistrate Short, did I hear?
Both, either one, they make that.
I seconded that.
Okay, and seconded by Simmons. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carried, and adjourned.
Now we,
Do we have to go into any session for this?
yes, we do.
You'll have to convene.
I'm gonna call this, meeting to order, if you don't mind.
I'll second that.
And, at this point, I'd like to, has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from the last meeting?
Move for acceptance of the minutes, sir.
We have a motion made, second to approve the prior minutes from the last, meeting. Do I hear All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Okay, at this point, we need to appoint new officers for the committee for the Municipal Properties Corporation. This is, has to be if I'm not right, I'm wrong, Mary standing over me makes me nervous, but, this is, a copy of this has to be sent to the Secretary of State. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
That is correct.
With a $15
So,
check.
with a $15 check.
I move for Phil Sammons to be president.
How about if we approve the slate as presented?
Slated, okay.
Slate as presented, is that acceptable
Yeah.
to
Yes.
made by Magistrate Caywood, and
Yeah.
this is his meeting, not mine.
We have a motion made by, and I don't really like it too well, by Magistrate Caywood to approve the slate as presented. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Magistrate Short. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay, the only next thing we'll have is, pay the $15, I think it's still the same anymore.
It is.
$15 fee. Do I hear a motion to make that
So move.
payment? John made the motion, Magistrate, who's gonna say it? Okay, Cullen seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
No other business, I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Motion been made to adjourn by Magistrate Short, second by Magistrate Caywood. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.